Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you all here. So, you know how I feel about EastEnders, so I thought, why don't I do something different for my next EastEnders video? Let's listen to another voice, or at least read what he has to say. So, I follow a lad called Sean Clark, who's an author. He's a big EastEnders fan, and he's always got something to say. Now, he's got a little site somewhere called EastEnders I think it's a site anyway. And he blogs on there, he does articles, and he's done his latest article about the Ruby Allen rape situation, which is another mess by a modern day EastEnders. John York was supposed to come in and save this show because of the era he had before, but he has been absolutely terrible. Don't get me started on Super Lauren, who had the same fall as her sister, but survived and walked off into the sunset. Right, should we begin? Right, I'm going to start reading this. Well, here I am, back again, after a few months to give my thoughts on a show I just can't leave behind. You got it bad, Sean. A certain storyline has awoken me from my blogger slumber, the Ruby rape storyline. It's an exciting, original and dramatic take on a sensitive subject, except it's not. It's offensive, dangerous and more reckless than a drunk driver on a footpath with a stolen vehicle. Sorry about that, that's my reading. Let's go back to John York's comments from September. Right, let's read this out. This is from John York. Whilst this story centres around an unseen rape, its real focus will challenge the stereotyping and myths that can surround sexual violence and consent as a subject. It's difficult and incredibly moving, but we hope that by EastEnders tackling this issue, we can raise awareness about an incredibly important issue. First of all, right, you know when producers and showrunners come out with these big statements, they don't give a crap about the issues. They're just hoping they get people watching. That's all. They don't actually care. But obviously, we know these people are self-indulgent these days. We know they're very political and they're virtue signalling to women constantly. So let's carry on with Sean's article. Right. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Sadly, the reality is far from what York promised. In fact, EastEnders has only managed to reinforce the myths behind sexual violence and destroy two beloved characters in the process, Martin and Stacey Fowler. The first problem we encounter is the strange tone EastEnders has always excelled when it comes to raising awareness. Important issues like AIDS, cot death and rape have all been explored on the show to brilliant effect. By the way, that brilliant effect hasn't happened for like 25 years. We even saw a stellar effort, don't agree with this by the way, effort this year in the form of Shakil's fatal stabbing. It was a beautiful storyline that perfectly illustrated the horrors of knife crime. That's Sean's opinion. He's entitled to it, but I don't agree with that. Let's carry on. In comparison, the Ruby rape storyline is nowhere near the standard we expect from EastEnders. The standard we expect from EastEnders hasn't happened, Sean, for over 10 years, unfortunately. It's judgmental and preachy, with characters speaking like they are lecturing a room full of brain-dead idiots rather than the viewers at home. Well, to be fair, Sean, it's only brain-dead idiots who watch EastEnders now. Not your good self, of course, but that's the way it is, because all the intelligent people stopped watching years ago. Should we carry on? Now, I'm no fan of Sean O'Connor, the much-maligned former boss, churned out social justice storylines at a rate that current Star Wars writers would be proud of. You should see my video about Star Wars, Sean. I think you like it. Yet nothing he oversaw is as preachy or ill-advised as the Ruby rape storyline. It also doesn't work from a narrative point of view. We don't know Martin's friends, nor do we care what happens to them, unless, of course, we're only supposed to care about Ruby's side of the story. Yup, we are. Hint, we are. Ruby is only just back, and while we sympathise with her trauma, we are seeing the story more through Stacey's eyes than her own. Speaking of which, Saint Stacey, I love how sarcastically he calls Saint Stacey, by the way. Saint Stacey's jacket has been on Shughly Peg since Christmas, but this latest butchering of the character takes the cake. Remember, this is the same Stacey who, right, let's get this right. slept with someone else while her husband took her daughter to a school play, set her husband up to ensure he had no chance of seeing his kids. Saint Stacey has been insufferable since those Christmas episodes, cheating on her husband, taking him back and then spending all her time telling him how lucky he is for the privilege. That's before we mention inviting half her relatives to gatecrash his house. John York's scriptwriters have absolutely wrecked her, but that's a blog for another time. Well, it's not just the scriptwriters have wrecked her, you know. Anyway, let's carry on. Where are we? But that's a blog for another time. Let's get back on point. Saint Stacey's part in this abomination is to play the role of your average feminazi who thinks all men are bastards. In fact, just like a feminazi, Stacey doesn't seem to know the difference between men who rape women and ordinary men who are repulsed by such evil. At least they got that part right. When Martin tells Saint Stacey his friends are backing him up, she wastes no time in telling him, "That's what men do, Martin." Do we? It doesn't stop there. Saint Stacey then launches into a full-blown rant that sounds as though the scriptwriter ripped it from page 10 of the Good Feminazi Guide. I love it. Sarcastically telling Martin, "Boys don't lie, Martin. They never cover up for each other." Again, I mean, what I'll say about that is exactly because girls don't cover up for each other either, do they? Anyway, we go on. It's an incredible line to make it into an episode of BBC's once flagship show. Yeah, it hasn't been a flagship show for many years. Here we have typical laddish behaviour mentioned in the same context as helping someone cover up a rape. It's insulting and dangerous at a time when we've just seen the results of laddish behaviour taken out of context on Big Brother. Good point, Sean. He's a good writer, isn't he? Ryan Thomas would be picking the remains of his career off the floor had there not been cameras in that house. Are we supposed to believe that was an isolated incident, that only men lie? Do your friends never talk about the births they've had? I bet they do, Saint Stacey. If that makes them rapists, then we're going to need clarification on whether it's just men who aren't allowed to mention the sordid details of their previous weekend out on the lash. Does this apply to women as well? EastEnders doesn't answer the question for us. Not exactly challenging stereotypes here, folks. What's also grating is how little effort the scriptwriters put into balancing out these dangerous lines. Martin makes a few half-hearted arguments, but they're quickly shut down, of course they are, by Saint Stacey, who starts comparing rape to locker room banter for some bizarre reason. Now, this is what happened with Broadchurch Season 3 as well. They very quickly started bringing in some dangerous stereotypes, like the guy who had pictures of topless women in his garage. Ridiculous. And this is what they're doing. Saint Stacey's attitude towards Martin also presents another problem, namely that Martin rightly wants evidence before he hangs his friend out to dry. Saint Stacey having none of this and demands he believes Ruby now. Now, this is another thing. There's a whole thing now with these people that you've got to believe women. You've got to believe women. They're not lying. They're all telling the truth. An accusation. Now, we know so many women lie about rape. We also know so many women are telling the truth. But to destroy someone's life because someone's just said they've been raped is outrageous. And this is the political stance these people are taking. Is there any more? Yep. It's very good, this. I hope you're enjoying this. It's easy to see why the scriptwriter's demonising Martin. He represents the same voice, the one who doesn't want an innocent man condemned before a trial. Saint Stacey represents the other less sane side of the argument. Men are immediately guilty on someone's word. This is the problem. What were they thinking at a time when militant feminism is on the rise and men are being demonised in all of forms of media? This is their stab at challenging stereotypes, by enforcing more. It seems the scriptwriters are hell-bent on making two key points. Female nature good, male nature bad. Basically, and it's not just EastEnders doing that, Sean. This whole sorry mess should be brought to an immediate halt before the male viewers turn off in disgust. In fairness, they have managed to educate in some ways. Stacey and Ruby's trip to the clinic and the latter's insistence that she was somehow to blame was an important lesson to learn. Let's be clear, rape is rape. The only person to blame is the person who commits the vile crime. Exactly, yeah. I doubt very much if this storyline was meant to raise awareness of sexual assault. No, the whole tone is so anti-male that it's difficult to imagine they cooked this up as anything other than a quick piggyback on the Me Too movement. That's my opinion, of course, not fact. And I think it is a fact, Sean. It's worth mentioning the storyline is in its infancy, and maybe we'll get what we were promised as it goes on. Infancy, Sean. It's been going for over, what, month or two now? I won't hold my breath, though. EastEnders is drowning in a sea of misandry, and while I have no issue with a sexual assault storyline, this one's not as clever or groundbreaking as they want to believe, or want us to believe, should I say. Must do better. Sean, we've been saying they must do better for over a decade now, and we're still drowning in this sea of mediocrity. So there you have it, my thoughts on the Ruby rape storyline. Hope you enjoyed the blog, and please feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. EastEnders are good, bad, and yeah, basically, this is Sean Clark, and he does these blogs on this EastEnders thing. As I say, I don't know if it's a website. I have to ask him for you, but I don't know how to do links at the bottom of my YouTube videos. Sorry, but EastEnders follow Sean Clark on Twitter if you're an EastEnders fan and you agree with this. At Sean Clark, simple as that. Great lad, always having great debates with him, and I really enjoyed reading that. So, what do we all think? Well, he's absolutely on point. This is what's happening on television now and on film. We have got this situation now where females are all victims and men are all aggressors. It's a childish, juvenile way. I said this on my Who Addicts video when I was talking about the video he did. We're in a situation now where fake feminists, and that's all I can call them, are very focused on Western women, on what they so-called go through at the hands of us horrible men. But they don't give two hoots about the women in the third world getting tortured and raped and getting their genitals sliced and crap like that. Imagine what those women are going through. But these Western fake feminists don't give a crap about them. These are fake feminists. They're trying to, all that they're really trying to do, right? Why was the word feminazi created? It's hate brings hate. This is the problem. And I can't see, I believe these people, these feminazis, if you want to call them that, and I shouldn't really be calling them that. It's a bit of an ugly word, but it does describe what they are. I believe they do want FemWorld. I believe they want us on our knees or dead, and I believe that's what they want. And this is why I wrote a story called Gender Wars. I'm still writing it, by the way. It's set in a post-apocalyptic society. I've done a video here on my channel about it. And basically, there was a war between men and women. Women won, and now men are just slaves. Men and women are not allowed to fall in love, have relationships, talk, have sex, get married or anything. Any woman caught doing this will be immediately killed. And that's my story. And my story came from this agenda, this culture we are in now. Sean is absolutely spot on. Now, EastEnders don't normally go this direction, to be honest. They're one of the few that don't, but they have now. This is a crap, basically, even away from kind of the men hate that this brings up, purposely, by the way. It's why bring Ruby back? Ruby is not even young anymore. All right, she's youngish, but she's not a teenager anymore. You're not going to kind of draw in younger viewers by her coming back. Hardly anyone who watches EastEnders even knows who she is. But to bring her back and within 5 minutes do this rape storyline is absolutely outrageous because we don't care about her. She's been away for too long. She wasn't a great character when she was on the show. Anyway, she was part of the beginning of that horrible era. And Sean's right about this Stacey's, what they've done with Stacey's character. It's terrible. She was a hard-hitting character that's been through so much. Even with her affairs and her flaws and all of that, right? She's still a great character. She's a flawed character. That's the way characters should be. And really, to see what they're doing with her, it comes as no surprise. And I even think maybe the actor kind of thinks, well, should I have come back? But to be honest, her career wasn't going too well when she left a couple of years ago anyway. So what do you think, guys? Comment down below, like, share the video, share the channel. Don't forget to follow Sean Clark on Twitter. Really interesting article. I enjoyed doing it for this channel. See you soon.